You have to truly believe in the magic.
What's up, Magic fans? I'm Mikey, and welcome back to the Penny for Your Thoughts podcast, the weekly UK podcast covering the Orlando Magic. Today is Friday, the 17th of September, 2021. On today's episode, we'll be taking a look at the Miami Heat and Philadelphia 76ers in part 3 of our Eastern Conference preview. We're going to have guests Dan Healy from the Miami Heat UK, and we're also going to have Bobby Healy, who's also a UK Sixers fan. But before all of that, I'm joined by my Welsh counterpart, Mr. Geraint Jones. Evening, mate. How are you?
Good evening, mate. Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. Glad it's Friday, of course.
Glad it's Friday.
Oh yeah.
We won't mention Cardiff and the other evening.
No, let's not. I'm sure Rich Barrett's very happy with his Coventry City beating us 1-0. So yeah, let's leave it at that.
Lad. Absolutely. Unfortunately, Paul's not going to be with us today. We're planning on doing another episode next week. Me and G still got to decide which night we're going to record. We're going to have a couple more guests on and preview a couple more of the teams from the East. But hopefully the show after that, Paul will be back. So a bit of Magic news before we jump in with our guests, starting with the Lakeland Magic. So the NBA G League announced earlier this week they've now released their season schedule for the new season. The Lakeland Magic will open up the season at home versus the Texas Legends, which is the Dallas Mavericks affiliate. So the Magic will play a total of 48 games, if I've done my calculations correct, in the regular season. And it'll be under first-year head coach Joe Barra, who will be taking over from Stan Heath, who helped Lakeland win the G League final last year. So, G, any thoughts? I think Lakeland's going to be something we're going to be keeping our eye on a little bit more now. We're focusing on the development side. What do you think?
Absolutely, yeah, you're spot on there. And I'm sure we'll get, Hank Taylor, the Lakeland PA, on at some point during the season just to check in and get a bit of an update with the Lakeland team. But interesting you said about Joe Barra there. He's been an assistant for 4 seasons in the past.
Yeah.
So he's got, the relationships there, obviously been promoted. But interestingly, the Magic and the Orlando Magic and the Lakeland Magic operate the same system. So what with Jamal Mosley being the new coach in Orlando, it looks like Joe's going to have to work closely with him just to implement the same system so that when they do call players up from the G League, Ignas Brizdeikis will probably get an opportunity at some point. The second two-way player hasn't been signed as yet. So they need to get that system running in Lakeland and Orlando. So it might just have a few teething issues, as most teams find when they change, style of play. So we're looking forward to seeing what they can do. But it's going to be tough. But it depends who they bring back. If you get the likes of Devin Kennedy and a couple of the other guys who were on the championship winning team last season, then there's no reason why they can't, get deep into the playoffs this season. So, hopefully they can go back to back.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So away from Magic news, last little bit. Last week, NBA 2K22 dropped, and Mr. Jones got his hands on a next generation copy. I've decided to pass on it this year. I'm just too busy, man, and I'm one of these. I'll play it. You know what I'm like. I'll play it for like a month. Absolutely solid, day in, day out, and then I'm like, nah, I'm done with this. I'm bored. I've done my bit. So what's your early thoughts on the new 2K? Do you think it's worth the upgrade from last season's game? I know Paul Porter and obviously all the PAs, and what sort of features have they added to it this year?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'm a bit disappointed because you and I always go back and forth at each other, don't we? We try and better each sort of season within the My Team game. So I'm not going to have somebody to compete against this year. But no, it's been going. I've been playing for a week now. The gameplay is quality, as you'd expect from 2K. I'm finding it a lot more difficult with the guards to get by and drive to the basket. There's a lot more focus on, post play, dumping it in, cutting, etc. So it's a bit of a learning curve, just trying to, alter it. But like you said, having Paul Porter doing the Magic PA, listening to his voice, it just makes it a bit more real, and I am looking forward to playing the Los Angeles Lakers and putting a beat down on them and listening to Lawrence Tanter, get all depressed. So, but if anybody wants to add me, I'm on Xbox One, Series X, and my tag is Magic1231. So you can catch me on there at some point.
Yeah, so you won't be convincing me to buy one this year. So
well, maybe we'll see, mate. There's plenty of time.
You can keep trying.
Wait for the sale, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So before we move on, just a quick recap. We're still running the Jalen Suggs jersey giveaway. So again, our friends from the NBA Store Europe and Fanatics are giving away a Jalen Suggs jersey to one lucky winner. All you need to do is two things: subscribe to our YouTube channel and comment on our episode looking at the 2021-22 season schedule, telling us which Magic player you're most looking forward to watching. As soon as you've done those two things, you'll be added to the draw. When we hit 500 followers, we'll be doing the prize draw on a future episode for that Suggs jersey. We welcome in our first guest, Mr. Dan Healy from the Miami Heat UK. Evening, Dan. How are you, mate?
How you doing, guys? How are you? Are you good?
Very well, thank you, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Good stuff. Great stuff. Thank you very much for inviting me on. Absolutely honoured to be on the award-winning Penny for Your Faults best podcast in the UK NBA game. So thank you for having me on, guys.
Nice one. No, you're welcome, mate. And it's nice to have a fellow Scouser, another Redman, on the podcast, just to wind Mr. G up.
Always a good thing. Whenever you wind it up, G, it's always a good thing.
Exactly.
So yes, I'm here for that.
That Milan game was pretty special the other night.
That was good stuff, wasn't it? Always is when we meet Milan. So yeah, good fun. Absolutely.
So Dan, for our listeners, can you tell us a bit about yourself, how you became a Heat fan and how you started the Miami Heat UK and all the stuff you do with that, mate?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a story I've told many times, so apologies if you've heard this before. But my NBA fandom just came literally out of nowhere on the back of about 6 years ago, I think it was now. My brother just very loosely saying that he was going to get involved in it, and he thought it would be a sport I would enjoy because he knows I live and breathe sports, all the sports over here, whether it be football or cricket or golf or Formula One. Yeah, anything with a leaderboard and a fixture list, I've always been all over it. And so, but I've never really took my sort of that fandom into the American sports scene, which I find really strange now. I almost find it's incredible. I don't know why I never really got involved in it. But so my younger brother Bobby, he said he was gonna get involved in it. It was on the eve of the 2015 season, I think it was. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. He said, look, it's a quick sport. It's easy to get to grips with. I think it's something you'll enjoy, fast-paced, give it a go. I went, great stuff. I went, so who are you following? And back in these days when, again, he'd really had no following or anything, he just picked a team literally because he had been there. He said, I'm going to be an Orlando Magic fan. So I said, okay, right, me knowing nothing about NBA, I think before that day, if you would have told me to name 5 NBA teams, I probably could have done, but maybe would have struggled. I would have, it was that was what, I'm dealing with. So, but I had heard of the Miami Heat. So I said, okay, if you're going to be Orlando, I'm going to keep it in state and I'm going to support Miami. Great stuff. So off we went. First game, Heat played Orlando, as is often the way with our two teams. We often start the season playing against each other. From that game onwards, we did win that game, and it was like an instant love affair. I loved it. From that moment onwards, the free trial on NBA Pass was immediately upgraded. I was looking into now this new team that I was supporting and wanted to know all about their history. I wanted to start buying some jerseys. It was just instant. The click was just, a marriage made in heaven. So, since then, barely missed a game, live and breathe it. And Bobby has since moved over to another team. I think it took him about half a season to realise, I might have jumped into this a little bit too soon. So he done a bit of research, and he actually, similar sort of thing, he went on holiday to New York, took a day trip out to Philadelphia, saw their sports complex, and he thought, right, this is a bit of me. So he's been a Sixers fan ever since then. But yeah, that was really how we started. I picked a team really based on in-state sibling rivalry. So and it's been a great journey ever since. And then obviously starting this account, I've been doing this for 2.5 years now, and that was thanks to your very own Grant Jones. He just said, look, me and him had a bit of banter on my personal account, which I don't even use anymore, really. But we was backwards and forwards as we did, Miami and Orlando, a bit of banter going backwards and forwards. And he just DM'd me one day and said, look, there's only a couple of fan accounts at that point. I think there was yourselves, I think there was Lakers, I think that Nath had just started the Boston Brit. So that was about it. And he said, look, you know your stuff, you're passionate about your team. Get involved with starting an account. And I thought about it for a little while, and I thought, yeah, you know what, why not? Let's give it a go. And I have to say, it's probably the best thing I ever did. Just love being part of this community, love following the team, just love doing what I'm doing. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
You can buy me a beer at the next NBA UK Fans Watch Party, mate.
Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt, we'll do. I would have done so anyway. You know that.
I know that, mate. I know that. Cool. So, how do you feel the Heat off season went? Take us through it, mate.
Yeah, I'm delighted with what the Heat done this off season. I think that if I was to grade it, I would give it a solid A. I still have my concerns. I'll come on to them in a minute, but I think that this team, we did exactly what was needed. We needed, the two glaring things. Well, three glaring things. For I think the two priority of the things we needed to address this season was to get a proper power forward. Jay Crowder left, done an incredible job for us. And we've never really been able to replace him. Trevor Ariza done a decent job. Iguodala's not getting any younger, so we needed that spot filled. And with PJ Tucker and Markieff Morris, Markieff Morris is going to be difficult trying to support Markieff Morris. I'm not the biggest fan of the Morris brothers, but from a playing point of view, I think he hits the Heat culture really well. And PJ Tucker is a great pickup for us again. Lots of experience. That's a plug and play into this team without a doubt. And most importantly, I know me and you haven't agreed on this, G, but Kyle Lowry coming in, I think, is exactly what the Heat needed. I was banging that drum for a long time. Yes, an aging player, but another NBA champion, somebody that the Heat really need. No disrespect whatsoever to the legend that is Goran Dragic, but a true point guard, a ball-handling point guard, somebody that will be able to bring Bam's game along incredibly as well. We haven't had that for many years, so I'm delighted with the acquisition of Kyle Lowry, along with PJ Tucker, along with Markieff Morris. I think that's exactly what the Heat needed to address, and we did. So yes, I'm very pleased.
So who's your next jersey out of interest with all those players?
Oh, wow. Do you know what? I'm quite embarrassed to say, but I still haven't got a Bam jersey. So that's going to be addressed first and foremost. After that, yeah, I mean, pick who it is. I suppose it's got to be Kyle, but I still want a Duncan Robinson one. I still need a Tyler Hero one. I've got so many Wade jerseys. I've got to let that go now. I've got so many Wade jerseys, and I've only got one Jimmy Butler jersey. I've got a couple of Chris Bosh jerseys. I've got a LeBron jersey. So I need to let go of the past and start backing this team now and starting to get these. But yeah, you know me. I'm a jersey fanatic, a bit like you guys are. Yeah. So I'll pick up several. But yeah, I think Bam's got to be addressed. I'm quite embarrassed about that.
Yeah,
I think Bams might be the only player that I like on Miami. But
well, that's fair. I don't think there's anybody that's got a bad word to say about Bam. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing him improve this year. I think he's going to take another leap with Cole behind him. Yeah, there's a couple of things that did loosely just come onto it there. That there's a couple of things that I'm not particularly not happy about, but I've got my concerns about. And the fact that Bam and Dwayne Dedman being really one of our only. Well, they're our only bigs, really. We're a small team, and that concerned me last year, and we got bullied last year quite a lot. It happened in the finals when we got through into the bubble as well. To the bubble finals, we got bullied once we came up against the Lakers because we just weren't big enough. And that's my main concern is that we need a bit of size in there. So we'll see what happens. But from the rest of the point of view, as I said, not only just what we've brought in, but who we've kept as well. I think that's really got to be highlighted, because I think that when we was being pitched for getting Kyle Lowry in and these sort of players, I don't think people would have thought that you would have kept hold of Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson in that trade. I thought that one of them would probably have had to go, and we've managed to keep both. We've got Duncan Robinson signed up for another 3-4 years now. on a hefty contract, but one that I think is 100% earned. So I'm delighted for him. And Tyler Herro's still now, we're earning only $4 odd million. He's gonna take another leap this year. So still to have him on the team is exciting. So I think the A grade I gave is not just about who we brought in, but who we managed to keep around as well.
That leads perfectly on to one of my questions. I'm going to flip them around in a different order. But so talking about Tyler Herro, who's entering his third season. I know the Heat have just picked up his team option, so he's going to be a restricted free agent in 2023. Mm-hmm. I think I saw a picture from him the other day. He looked absolutely chiseled with his off-season training and everything. What are you expecting from him this season? Yeah,
Tyler Herro gets it gets a bad rep really on Twitter because people have sort of, and I sort of blame the Heat a little bit of this as well. They've built him up because he came over with this sort of, he's got this sort of flamboyant swagger about him. He's got this air of confidence. He's got his Instagram girlfriend and all the rest of it, and this sort of almost like this young 20-year-old, like almost like a rock star sort of lifestyle, and people have loved that. And he came in on his debut season, he was electric. We saw him, everyone knew he was a sniper anyway, but he showed that he had a lot more to his game. His run during the bubble was incredible, and we thought that he was going to jump onto a new level again last year, and it didn't really happen. If anything, probably slightly regressed. But I think that he gets a bad rep because he's got built up so quickly before he's been allowed to develop. And the Heat as well, with all these Tyler Tuesdays and bringing out his range of merch 6 months into him being a Heat player, I think the expectation has got ahead of him. And now I think he's got a point to prove. And he said, look, there was a lot of rumours that he wasn't going to be on the Heat this year. I think one of our market leaders in terms of content providing said that there was a 75% chance that Tyler Herro would not be on the Heat this year. And he is. He sort of said from the outset that he wasn't going to listen to any of the noise. He was going to get in the gym. He's got a lot to prove this year. And you look at the images, and he's got in the gym all right. Blimey, he's put on some pounds. He's looking chiseled, as you say. So I think that the fact now that we've got Kyle in, he hasn't got to worry about being that primary ball handler because he started the season last year as our point guard, our starting point guard. That experiment didn't work at all, and it knocked his confidence a little bit. So now he can just come off the bench. He only really got to worry about doing what he does best, and that's scoring. I'm really excited to see what Tyler Herro does this year, massively.
Awesome, cool. You've picked up on it. You acquired one of the biggest villains in the NBA, as you've mentioned, in Kyle Lowry, and you've got a lot of money tied into him, $83 million over 3 seasons, I believe. And he's going to be 38 by the time his third year finishes, along with Jimmy Butler, who again has had a lot of money thrown his way, 5 years, and you'd be paying him $50 million when he's 37, 38. Are you slightly concerned, given how hamstrung you're going to be against the salary cap, in the future, as the guys get older, and given the potential, of not maybe winning in the next 2-3 seasons with the Nets roster and perhaps other teams who I mentioned?
It's a fair argument, and I get it, but I don't know what people would have expected us to do. Look, this team was the absolute epiphany of mediocre. Even that was maybe being generous to what this team was 2 years ago before Butler came in. Our best player was probably Josh Richardson, for example. No disrespect to you, Josh, but this team was that's who we were. We was a middle of the road team, and then we got our superstar out of nowhere. If you get a superstar, I call him a superstar. Other people might not go that far. What he brings to this team, he's not the best in terms of ability. People will say he's not a top 10 player, maybe not even a top 15 player. But in terms of what he brings to this team, there is no better player that we could ask for. He is our leader. He is our star. He's our alpha. He gets everybody off singing on the same page. He doesn't mind ruffling some feathers. He's been a match made in heaven. So what you can't do is you can't moan that your team has got no stars, then get a star. He's almost single-handedly brings you to the finals in year one, and then moan that you've got to pay that star. So, that you can't have it like that. NBA fans just sort of, they get spoiled in the fact that they look at the numbers too much. Look, don't get me wrong. Yeah, the numbers are big. But what's the option? We didn't do it, and then what are we? We're a lottery team again, because we've lost our star. You don't give up a Jimmy Butler, especially when you're on the Miami Heat, who, as I said, he's perfect for. Kyle Lowry, I get it a little bit more. The only thing with both of these players, Kyle and more Jimmy, is the age doesn't really bother me. It's a number to them players because they keep themselves in such incredible shape. I mean, Jimmy Butler's a 32-year-old lad now, just turned, I think, his birthday the other day. He's still, in my opinion, he's a 27, 28-year-old in terms of fitness, physique, and what he can bring in terms of ability. So the age doesn't bother me. The numbers do, of course, because they're eye-watering. There's no getting away with it. 50-odd million in a couple of years' time. Kyle Lowry, 38 million, etc. But we've got to, again, we had to bring this in line with Jimmy's timeline. This is what it's all about. There's no point bringing up players that are just going to develop because we've got 2 or 3 years of Jimmy at being at his best. So we need to bring in the players like that we think that can do a job right now, and that's what we've done. There's no counter arguments to that. Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris are exactly the sort of players that Jimmy Butler wants in his team. They're dogs, they're fighters. All they care about is winning. They're NBA champions, all 3 of those. They're NBA champions. So it's no secret to what we've done. We've done it for now. The window is 2-3 years. That's what we've had to ride with. And if it doesn't work out, okay, we're not going to be competitive for a year or so, and we start again. But that's the tragedy of the max contracts.
Yeah, and we know the Heat like their conditioning, and the players got to reach a certain body fat level and all that sort of stuff. How's PJ Tucker and Kyle Lowry going to do that?
Yeah, Kyle's got to do something about that booty, isn't he? Definitely. I think that they will get in shape. I don't think it's any secret that Miami Heat have this sort of culture and concept of being in the best condition, nastiest, hardest working, all the rest of it. And I think that it's the mentality that will get them in that shape. Because, as I said, that it's not just the players we bought that will fit in the positions. It's all about the culture fit and the mentality of those players. And that's why I've got no concerns about them getting up to speed in that sense, because they're all on that page. Their mantra is to win. Nothing else matters.
Yeah. So what's a successful season look like for the Heat this year? Because I think you're in that tier below the Bucks and the Nets.
I agree. I think that I don't think anybody... I think that you've got to look at it. Even the most biased Heat fan might say, look, you could maybe make a run at trying to get that 2 seed. But I think realistically, you've got to say, yeah, I totally agree with what you just said, Mikey. You've got Nets and Bucks that are that tier above. After that, it is a bit of a free throw. I think you're looking at Heat, Sixers, Boston,
Atlanta.
Atlanta. That's probably it until there's maybe another drop off. Who? Sorry. Yeah,
Philly.
I said Philly. Did I? I think I said Philly. Yeah.
Philly.
Orlando.
I think there's.
You said Philly. My bad.
I think that's going to be the jostle for 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that a disappointment will be anything outside the top 4. I think the Heat would be really disappointed with that because last season didn't go to plan really. If we would have got that 4 seed, we might have looked at a lot better season. But to only end up in 5th and end up with the Bucks first round made things very difficult. I think that really it's going to be the same again. You've got to really look to get that top 4 seed. I think topping out, I think really a 3 seed would be maybe the best the Heat can ask for this season, and I'd be happy with that. Going forward, well, I would look at a successful season as the Eastern Conference Finals. I think you'd have to.
Anything less than that is a failure,
anything less than that, it probably is. I mean, a second round exit, I suppose it depends who you come up against and the way you go out as everything like this. But I think, this team, as I said, we've got a short window here. This has been done purposely to in line with Jimmy Butler's with window. We've got 2 or 3 years at this and then that's it. So the earlier the better. I think, I think Eastern Conference Finals will be looking at a successful season, but we shall see.
You didn't mention the Chicago Bulls there. We had Jimmy Zinker on the other day. How do you see the Bulls faring this season? Just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, the Bulls are going to be the most exciting, fun watch across the NBA this year. I'm really, really excited. I agree with what Jimmy said. I think they've had an A-plus window. Too many years of being outside the playoffs. I think they've got to get in the playoffs this year, and they will get in the playoffs this year, in my opinion. But Zach LaVine, Vooch, DeRozan, Lonzo, Derrick Jones Jr. I think that's a really fun team. They're a bit like the Pelicans of a year or so ago when Zion first came in and they had this young run of players, but they're a bit more mature than that. So I think that they're going to be fun. They're not going to finish top 4 like Jimmy maybe said that they would because I don't know who's making stops on that team. but they're going to be really fun. They're going to be really, really fun. I think they will finish playoffs. Personally, I think you've got that top 5, 6 really locked in. I don't see them breaking that. I think really that they're probably looking at best maybe 6, probably more realistically, probably be a top 7 finish.
Remember, they've got Vucevic. You know how Vucevic has his way with the Miami Heat. So
yeah, this is true. This is very true.
You never do know. You never do know.
No, that's it.
So going back to your team now. So we've been seeing that former Magic favourite Victor Oladipo is ahead of schedule on his recovery from his quad injury that saw him go down after 4 games this season. Suggestions we've read that he could be hoping to play again by December. He comes back. What can he bring to the Miami Heat?
Victor Oladipo I was sweating on this year because this team, as much as I've enjoyed what we've done, and I think we've done brilliantly as I've just highlighted, my concern apart from size, which I've also highlighted, I think that the only thing that I think is going to be our issue this year, probably our biggest Achilles heel, is going to be our scoring depth. You know, if we've got players that can score, but you're relying on Bam, Jimmy, Kyle really getting in the 20s, Duncan pitching in with his standard 15 or so, Tyler Hero maybe the same. Defensively, we're going to be good, but I can see this team struggling to get to 100 points quite a lot this season. So Victor Oladipo coming back and offering that scoring punch was really, really big, huge move. I mean, it's as low risk as you can get, a vet's minimum deal or minimum deal, whatever he's on. It's such a shame what happened to him because he was just starting to look good. Took a couple of games just running up to scratch, and then in fact, in that 4th game, he was having his best game. He was looking great. He was dunking. He was looking on fire. He was scoring, and then suddenly went down. So to bring him back, I think is huge. I think it's something that's really, really what the Heat needed. So I'm thrilled we've got him back. I think December might be pushing it. I think it might more likely be sort of somewhere in the middle of January. But I'd rather wait, get it right, and then because he's going to be huge in the playoffs. Because if we can get Vic coming off the bench, getting anywhere near back to that all-star level that he was at, even if he's a 75% Vic, that's big. That's maybe game changing for us. Really, really hoping he takes his time, gets everything right. We don't want to see him go down again. Nobody wants to see a good player go down again. So hopefully he can get on track and be a really, really pivotal player for us.
Yeah.
Some good insight. Anyway, right, let's finish with a bit of Heat trivia, shall we?
Okay.
So, something a bit different. We haven't done this before. So, we're going to play Who's That Journeyman? So, I'm going to give you a player and I'm going to tell you the teams he played for and you're going to tell me which player that is. Okay. So,
I can't promise if it's anything before 6 years ago that it's going to be any good.
I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you one each.
I'll do my best.
These 2 players were on the Heat roster last season.
Okay.
So we're going to start with that. So I'll let Dan pick 1 or 2, and then you can have a stab at who you think it might be.
Let's go with 1.
1. Okay. So they started their career with the Warriors. They went to the Sixers, the Magic, the Spurs, the Hawks, the Kings, the Hawks again, and then the Heat.
It's one of 2 players. Oh, God. I'm going to say... I think it's either Dwayne Dedman or Trevor Ariza, and I'm going to go Dwayne Dedman.
Yeah, you're spot on.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, good lad. So
nice.
So
well done, mate.
G is left for number 2.
Has he played for the Magic?
No, this is a player that was on the Heat roster last season.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So Knicks, Magic, Lakers, Rockets, Hornets.
Trevor Ariza.
Yeah, there you go. That was those 2 easy for you. Right. I've got one more. You can work on this one together.
Okay.
This is a bit of a throwback player. Okay. So it might be before Dan's time, but we'll see if you can get it. So they started in Toronto, Denver, Utah, Detroit, Orlando, Miami, and Boston.
Is it Shaq?
No.
Toronto, Denver, Utah.
Oh, yeah, Toronto,
Detroit.
of course not.
Oh my gosh, Mikey. Oh, hang on a second. I need to have a think about this.
I know. I thought I'd throw a little more difficult one in there. Do you want me to name them again?
I've written them down here, but you can do for the listeners, yeah.
So Raptors, Nuggets, Jazz, Pistons, Magic, Heat, and the Celtics.
My gosh. Can you give us the years or something? That's very difficult.
Okay,
mate.
so he was on the Magic roster from 2005 to 2008. And he played 72 games for the Heat in 2009-10.
Yeah, no chance for me.
Jesus. Oh my, that is so difficult.
You'll know it as soon as I give you the answer. You'll be like,
Can you give me his college or something?
He went to... He went to Florida International University.
Florida International. No, it's not Carlos
Oh,
Arroyo.
I've got
or
him
someone like
stumped.
Put him out of his misery,
You
Mike.
have.
I'll put you out of your misery. You ready? Carlos Arroyo.
Did I just say that 2 seconds ago?
Did you?
Yeah, literally just 2 seconds ago.
I
You'll have to rewind.
I didn't hear
I
you
didn't
say
hear
either.
it. Nah, I didn't hear it. He's making it up. Saving face.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Oh, well done.
There we go. So there's a bit of Heat trivia for you. So
Awesome.
Dan, we really appreciate you coming on, mate. Thank you for joining us. It's been a long time to get you on.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. Just so you can give us a little plug, where can our listeners hear you and what you do?
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Honestly, great to be on your show. Massive fan of what you guys do. Best fan account in the NBA UK community, in my opinion, and continue to doing what you're doing. For me personally, I'm at the Miami Heat UK across all social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. I'm most responsive on Twitter. But we've got a YouTube channel as well, which we're trying to get up and running. We've got lots coming to that. That's Miami Heat UK TV. Just sort of getting going last year with that, but got more content coming for it. So if you're interested, go and subscribe to that. And then we've got our website as well, which is miamiheatuk.com. And of course, our own podcast, which is Heating Up the UK, which is available across all podcast platforms. Give that a listen as well. We're unbiased Heat fans. We call it as it is, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. So come give us a follow, and we'll chat NBA.
We have some good banter, and yeah, the content that you churn out, Dan, is second to none for me. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, please do check it out.
Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're joined by UK Sixers fan Bobby Healy. Bobby, thanks for coming on, mate.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. So for our listeners who don't follow you, who don't know you, can you tell us a bit about yourself, how you became a Sixers fan, and can you tell us a bit about your Twitter account and stuff like that? Before we say that, we've already had your brother on covering the Miami Heat, who's already given the game away that you're actually a Magic fan, and then decided to swap teams and join the enemy, join one of the.
First off, I'm sorry you had to have my brother on. But second off, I can't believe he's done me like that. No, it's yeah. I mean, I actually got into basketball. I went to go and see the London Lions.
Okay.
My work were offering tickets, and I was like, "Oh, sounds like a fun free Friday night." I think it was. So we went down there, and I loved the game. Like I really loved it. I knew nothing about it apart from the ball's got to go in the basket. That's all I knew. And from there, it was like, oh, I'll see what the NBA is. And it was just a quick Google, and I realised that this NBA pass existed. And it was, I think at the time, like £6 a month or something to follow a team. And from there, thanks to my brother for saying this, I picked Orlando because I was like, hey, I've been to Orlando more times than I've been anywhere else in the US. I mean, Durant knows how much I love Orlando, and it was like, that's an easy choice.
Bobby, can I just stop you there? Do you recognise his jersey?
I do recognise that jersey. I do. That's the one that I bought, so I'm glad it's being worn. Anyway,
Absolutely, mate. Thank you very much for that.
no problem at all. No problem. So it was, yeah. I mean, I followed it on and off, and then I think the season finished, and then I was actually going out to New York for a holiday, and I was like trying to get Knicks tickets, and they were just so expensive. So I was like, when we realised that part of our trip was to go to Philadelphia for the day. We always wanted to check out Philadelphia. and the tickets there, that was in the process. So the tickets were, I think it was against Detroit, and the tickets were $10 each. So I was like, there you go. That's a cheap way to go and see an NBA game. And then it was just like, I kind of fell in love with the city. I kind of fell in love with the Sixers, really. It was the only NBA game I'd ever been to. So from there, I kind of turned my back on the Orlando Magic. I'm so sorry.
It's outrageous, that
This
is.
is awkward. What an awkward start. But no, it was just like, I remember saying to my brother, I was like, look, this is the first NBA game I've seen. It was a great atmosphere, and I was like, I'm just going to have to stick with a team that I've seen. And then it was, from there, I fell in love, and it went from just kind of a passing interest in basketball to full on just obsessed with it. And it's been Sixers ever since.
So have you been back to Philly since?
Yeah, I've been back. I think been back twice now. Went back with my wife. She loved that. Really, really glad that we took another trip out there. And then I actually went with my brother Dan. We went out there it was a 3-game homestand, but we were actually playing Miami at that time. So we were like, oh, that's perfect. We'll go and do that. And they were up by about 30 at halftime. I wasn't talking. I wasn't saying a word. I was like, I've flown all this way and we're being blown out. And we actually made a comeback and we won. And then it swapped roles. So my brother didn't talk for the rest of the night. So yeah. And then obviously haven't been able to get out there because of the world lately. So as soon as we can, hopefully we'll be able to get out there and go and see some more Sixers basketball.
Good man.
It's been an
So what season?
since.
So what season was that you saw the Heat and the Sixers? Was that when Markelle was a Sixer? Or
No, I don't believe.
is that more recent?
No, I think he was, but I think he was injured. Sorry, guys.
Oh, easy now.
Sorry about that. No, he was going through. I think he was on the team, but he obviously quite quickly got withdrawn for injury, so he didn't play. But we actually went back later on that season to Miami to watch the same games, but in Miami. And that was actually the last game Fultz played for us. He took that, I don't know if you remember, but he took the free throw and his shoulder went again and he never played for us. I think that was the last action that he took in a Sixers shirt. So yeah, that was in 2018, I think.
Interesting.
2018, I think. So
Yeah. Okay, so going back to so now let's take it up to more recent times. So Ben Simmons is off season. Does he suit up in a Philadelphia 76er uniform for you, given what's happened, or has he burnt his bridges?
I think he starts the season with us just because I think, listen, he's under contract and he's under contract for a long time, and I think Daryl Morey's been quite patient. Nothing's really going, his trade value's as low as it's ever been. No one's really biting. I know there's a lot in the press about his trade value, and Daryl's asking for the sky for him and stuff like that, which I think is fine. I think that's going to happen right now. We're in no panic to trade him. So I think, in answer to your question, I think he does start the season as a Sixer unless someone gets injured and someone panic trades for him or something like that might maybe push it before the season. But do I think he finishes the season as a Sixer? I think that's done. I really, really do. I don't think he's. I think he's. The way things are going at the minute, it's getting nastier and nastier every week. So no, I don't think he will finish the season as a Sixer.
What do you think the Philly can get for him in return if they're going to trade him, which looks pretty likely? I before we jumped on, I had a quick look on. I did a quick Google search and looked at the latest rumors, and True Hoop suggested a couple of days ago that Indiana might actually be another suitable trade partner, possibly looking at somebody like TJ Warren and Malcolm Brogdon as part of the package in return. Do you think something like that's realistic? I mean, the Sixers need to do something to stay competitive, don't they, in the East? Yeah,
I think, listen, we all, as Sixers fans, as anyone else, we dream of your Bradley Bills and your Damian Lillards. Truth is, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Both players look like they're going to stay put. And also, we offer Ben Simmons for James Harden, and that what everyone said that was the best offer that could possibly happen, and they didn't take it. So I think if you can't get an all-star type of player back, I I would rather see a trade like that where we could get a couple of very, very good. I think Brogdon's a borderline all-star. I don't think he is an all-star. And Warren, we know what he can do. Okay, he's had his injury problems, but we know what he can do. So that's, to me, if you're not going to get your all-star superstar, which I don't think is going to happen, then yeah, something like that I'd be really happy with. I think a couple of very good players suits the Sixers, in my opinion. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's more realistic.
And somebody like TJ Warren's capable of putting up points, so he'd be a good sort of complementary piece next to Embiid. But
yeah, and I mean, next to Embiid, you want, if you're getting rid of Ben because he can't shoot and he doesn't fit in the team, then Brogdon and TJ Warren are scorers, so you can't really ask for much more. Like I said, outside of a superstar, so I would take it. I think definitely.
Yeah. So your head coach is an ex-Orlando Magic head coach, Mr. Doc Rivers. So are you confident that Doc Rivers is the man to get the Sixers over the top in Eastern Conference? How would you evaluate his first season at the helm?
It's a tricky one. He, as a person, I think he's the first coach that's kind of come in since obviously I've been following the Sixers that holds the team accountable. I think the players like playing for him. I think the players like him. As a coach, I think his flaws are there for everyone to see. I think his rotations are extremely questionable. I think it was a tale of 2 seasons for us last year. We were the first seed. Yes, okay, it was a strange season, and yeah, there was injuries and stuff like that, but we were good, and we were the most consistent team in the East throughout last season, and we played well. And I think the difference is throughout that whole season, Doc's rotations were questionable, but in the regular season, it doesn't show up as much. So it was kind of like, this is an awful lineup, but we're not playing a team that's really trying that hard against us, so it doesn't get shown. The minute the playoffs started, those flaws that Doc just doesn't change things up and is slow to react and stuff like that, it all came to light. Now, it's not just his fault. We all know that the players are equally responsible. But I think I think he was a lucky man at the end of last season, because the way we went out wasn't acceptable. But I didn't want to see him go. I felt like he deserved another season, another full season with us. So he's got this season. I haven't made my mind up whether I think he's the coach to get there. He's the man. I believe he's a good man. I think he's a well-respected man. Whether he's the coach to get us there, we'll see this season, I guess.
So what's a successful season for Philly this year?
Oh, it's a difficult one because...
Conference finals. I mean, and we had the same sort of conversation with Dan about the Heat. Conference finals for them, surely, is anything short of that's probably a failure. Do you think you could say the same for Philly?
I think so. I think I want to see us get past the second round, because we're just a second round team. That's all we've been. Yeah. And I think we've got the talent to. I think going back to it, I think it just hinges on what happens with Ben, I guess. He's obviously, like I said earlier, I think he's going to start on the Sixers, but whether his head's in the game, whether he really wants to be there, whether he's actually going to play, I don't know. Even with, if say Ben just sat and said, look, I'm not playing, we're still a good team. I still think we're a playoff team, but we're certainly not. I don't think Embiid can carry and Tobias can carry us past the second round. I really don't. So if we make a good trade, then yeah, the dream is conference finals. Obviously, we dream of the finals, but conference finals would just be progress. I would love to see us just get past that second round. That would be a good feeling for me. That would be a good season, given the turbulent off-season that we're having so far.
Are you expecting a jump from any of the young players? Tyrese Maxey?
I think Maxey's our brightest prospect. I mean, rumours are that he could be traded if something happens with Ben. I guess that would only be if it was for someone like Bill or someone like Lillard, which again, I don't think is going to happen. So Maxey's the most exciting, but I actually think Matisse Thybulle is, for me, he's taken a massive step up, and he's so, okay, offensively, he's not great, but I think he's more important to us this season going in. He's improved every season, and he's an all, I think he was he an all-team defence last year? I think he was, or second team.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, he's vital to us. Like, he really is. He's gone from a player that was just kind of like, he could be, he's a menace on defence, and now suddenly he's vital to us. So Maxey's the kind of exciting player in the sense that he can make things happen. He can, he working on his offensive game. He can create his own shot and so on and so forth. And that's what the Sixers so badly need. But I don't expect him to take a huge jump this year. I think just some more minutes would do him some good. So Thibault is the one I would say that he's really good and I want to see him. I think if he can take another step up, we'll be an even better team.
So we're going to finish with a bit of Sixers trivia for you then, Bobby. All right, it's nothing too difficult. I've got the difficult one for Geraint at the end. so I'm going to give you a player, and I'm going to tell you the teams that he's played for. So we're going to play Who's That Journeyman. So I'm going to tell you the teams he's played for, and you're going to tell me who you think that player is. Okay?
Got it. Yeah.
So I'll give you the easier one to begin with. So he started his career with the Bucks. He then played for the Magic before moving on to the Pistons, Clippers, and the Sixers.
Okay. Mr. Tobias Harris.
There you go. I said it was easy.
At least I got one right. That's
okay.
Now I feel good.
And then we'll see if you get this one. I'm going to leave the more difficult one for you at the end, G. And then this player, so he started his career with the Rockets, went to the Magic, the Nuggets, and the Sixers.
Oh. So say that again. So what teams was it again?
So the Rockets, the Magic, the Nuggets, and the Sixers.
Niang?
No.
No.
Have another guess.
Rockets.
Do you want me to give you a clue?
Go on.
This is a Magic podcast, so there might be a link. Well, there is obviously a link because he played for the Magic.
And he's on our roster now?
He was on your roster last season.
Right. I don't know. I'm having a blank. Magic Love.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't. I was
I'm not
thinking.
gonna lie, I'm
Scott,
struggling
but
as
I
well.
don't think he's played for the Magic.
Well,
has he?
yeah.
No.
No, he's not
He was
played
on
for
our
the
team
Magic,
last
mate.
year. Rockets.
Rocket. Magic. Good
Come on, think.
Sixers.
Do you want to... Last year.
Last year on the Sixers. I know Dwight Howard, but he's not. That's not him.
It was George Hill.
Who else was there on that?
Tell you the roster.
Tell me the roster, mate.
All right. This is why it's difficult. He played 2 games for Philly last season.
Oh goodness!
Oh, I know who it is. It's Gary Clark.
It's Gary Clark.
Blimey! Yeah,
Mikey's cousin.
that was. I'd forgotten he was even there.
There you go.
There you go.
And he only played 2 games for Denver as well.
And wasn't he a 2-way contract as well for Philly?
Quite possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah,
if
he
it
was.
that amount of time.
But,
Yeah, definitely.
okay.
there you go. That's a
was
bit
a bit-
harder then. Okay, right. So we'll
Well,
finish.
God help me if you've given him that one. God help me, mate.
So there's no Magic connection this one, G. This is another throwback. All right.
Oh no.
You might get it. We'll see. So he started his career with Seattle.
Hang on. What year?
We might get to that later. So he started his career
Okay.
with Seattle, Philadelphia, and Cleveland.
And that was it.
That's it. That's your lot.
Seattle, Philadelphia, and Cleveland. This might be going back.
This is going back. I don't know if it's before Bobby's time or not. He might have some ideas.
Well, the Sonics haven't been there since 2007, 2008.
Next clue.
So yeah, and
He played 452 regular season games for the Philadelphia
That doesn't help.
76ers.
that doesn't help at all. I hope somebody at home's getting this because this is difficult.
I'll give you another clue. Point guard who went to Michigan State.
Michigan State point guard. Okay. I was going to say Hersey Hawkins, but he was a 2 guard, so it's not him.
Have you ever watched?
Eric Snow.
Yes,
Eric Snow.
there you go, G.
Come on.
Well played.
Fair play, mate.
Well played.
There you go.
That's impressive.
I was thinking because my first Magic game was against Philadelphia in 2002. So I was like, right, what Philly player can I pick from that roster that might get G's brain working
That's impressive.
on a Friday night?
Impressive that you've been attending since
You-
2002, and impressive that Durant knew the answer.
Useless information I have in my head, unfortunately.
Good lad. Good stuff. Well, Bobby, thank you for joining us.
No, thank
Appreciate
you so much for having me on.
sharing your time with us and jumping on. So for our listeners, where can people find you and follow you?
You can find me on Twitter, Sixers Bobby, at Sixers Bobby. It might have changed to Bobby Sixers. I can't keep up with it. But you can find me on there, usually getting a little bit emotional about Sixers games. So, yeah, if you want to follow that roller coaster, feel free.
And you mentioned their roller coasters, Bobby. You're big into your theme parks, aren't you? And Orlando's probably your favourite holiday destination
That's
in the
it.
world. So I don't know why you've changed
You've
to
also got
Philadelphia, but you've also got a
Yeah.
YouTube channel, haven't you, about theme parks? Do you want to plug
I
that as well,
do.
mate?
It's at the Bobby Healy on YouTube. So yeah, like you said, I like to go to Orlando when we could, and go and visit the theme parks and stuff like that. It's a big hobby of mine. So not any in Philadelphia, annoyingly, but yeah, thank you for that.
No worries. So just to wrap up the show, you can find all of our Eastern Conference previews that Paul's written up on our website, orlandomagicuk.com. So he's broken down the Atlantic, Central and Southeast divisions, so you can read up on all the teams' acquisitions and moves and stuff that they've made during the off-season. We're going to take the next few weeks are going to be a bit quieter before training camp and preseason starts. We're going to pop out another podcast next week, but the content's just going to quieten down for a little bit before we ramp things up once the season starts. So there we go. So thank you always for watching and listening. We'll be recording another episode next week with a couple more guests. I think the Boston Brit we've got lined up to cut. And the Knicks. So we'll be covering those next week. So for the latest news, visit our website, orlandomagicuk.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Orlando Magic UK. You can find all of our links, including the NBA League Pass UK, the NBA Store Europe, and Fanatics UK in the description. Subscribe to the podcast, hit the notification button so you don't miss any future episodes. Leave us your comments. And from Geraint and me, until next week, go Magic.